Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and for that warm, brief introduction. I thank Maharshi Parshuram College of Engineering, Ratnagiri, and National Center for Science Communicators for making me part of this beautiful theme. The talk which I'm going to deliver is on gender and science communication. And I can see that I'm the only women speaker amongst the August conclave of men scientific community, and that makes all the more important why I should be talking about this particular aspect of science communication. So when I talk about science communication, I say and I argue that women in science is a different issue than women in science communication. So these are two different issues that we need to tackle parallelly. Both are issues, both needs to be tackled, both have their own concerns, but these are two parallel issues and together they need to be tackled. So there are efforts of including women in science, but there should be also efforts of including women in science communication. And I think here role of media plays a very important benchmark where women in media, how they are represented needs to be argued more critically. So it's not about women scientists being heard less, but it is also about that they are seen less in science communication. And if you all can hear me properly, I would say that you can just take out your mobile phones, and all of us are connected to internet. I will say that type these keywords. I'm not saying women scientists in India. I say if you type scientist in India, what you get is only two women scientists, which is Kalpana Chawla and Asima Chatterjee. And if you type famous scientist in India, what you get is Kalpana Chawla. Where are women? And when you type specifically women scientists in India, that is when you get a list of women scientists. So is it that we have to search specifically for women scientists? Scientist is something which is attributed to a particular gender only. So when I type scientist in India, why don't I see equal results by Google? Where are they shown? How are they shown? What are the images that you see? So when I look at the images also, I see that men scientists are in the lab coat, in the backdrop, and not only in Google search, I say this in all media. So be it television, cinema, advertisements, when women scientists are shown, they are not shown doing the action. But when men scientists are shown, they're shown doing the action. That is in the lab coat, background will be, laboratory and all that. How many women scientists have you seen in the profession? So there are scientists. You just take example of the film. I'm sure all of you have watched that film, Mission Mangal, which had a good number of women scientists who were shown doing the action. But I also have a problem with the way they are projected. So when women are shown in cinema, if we take example of only Mission Mangal, you will see that all the women were struggling to strike a balance between work and life, personal life. All of them had personal stories to be shared. They were struggling with their husband, they were struggling with the children, along with being a scientist also. But when it comes to men as protagonists, as scientists, do we show men also struggling and trying to strike a balance between personal life and profession? So why is it that we are attributing work-life balance to women only, to particular gender only? So this needs to be changed. Apart from that, if you look at the poster of Mission Mangal, you will find that in that poster also Akshay Kumar image is big, wherein he is not the protagonist of the film. The protagonist of the film is Vidya Balan. So after Akshay Kumar's image, you have a small pic of Vidya Balan followed by other scientists who are even smaller in size. So when the film is about women scientists taking the lead, and in trying to strike a balance between profession and personal life. And if they are the protagonist of the film, why are they not shown on poster? So why is it Akshay Kumar which needs to be bigger in size on poster? So these are certain concerns of how media is representing gender in science communication. I would also like to quote a very classic news coverage of Esther Duflo and Abhijit Banerjee. And I say and I confirm again that if you can do a Google search of this and you type Esther Duflo and Abhijit Banerjee, what you get is 10 news articles. You have to click on news article. What you get is 10 news articles. Only one name mention of Esther Duflo in the headline. 9 headlines were either carrying Abhijit Banerjee as the name or they were neutral. So there was only one Esther Duflo in the headline. Does that talk about how science is representing gender? Science communication is representing gender? There were 2 images of Esther and all remaining images were of Abhijit only. And when I type Esther Duflo only, so I'm not typing Esther Duflo and Abhijit Banerjee, I just type Esther Duflo and I click on image search. What I get is Esther Duflo along with Abhijit Banerjee on Google image results. So it's very few, almost 40% of the images are of Esther Duflo alone, single clicks, and remaining 60% are with Abhijit Banerjee. On the contrary, when I type Abhijit Banerjee and do a Google search, there's only one pic of Abhijit Banerjee with Esther Duflo. Rest all the images are of Abhijit Banerjee only. That is alarming. And why it is important that we include women in science communication. Because the young mind, those who are learning science right now, if they do not see women articulating science, the impression will be that women don't do science. The social learning theory, the classic social learning theory by Albert Bandura also says that new patterns of behavior can be acquired by observing the behavior of others. So scientists are strongly influenced by scientific culture in their institutions and abroad. So it is very important that women should be shown as articulating science, as somebody who's doing science. Now, this is regarding media. If we talk about scientific journals, and you take example of Nature and Science, a very popular scientific journal, how they are representing men and women. A small research was conducted, and the findings said that there very few women are there as authors, as subjects, as objects in photographs. So women are underrepresented in these magazines, in academic magazine, in trade magazines, and apart from that, media organizations. If we talk about television or advertisement or stuff like that. So if I talk about advertisement only, the woman in advertisement is shown wearing a lab coat. If I take example of Lysol ad or Hit spray ad or Dettol ad, where is she shown? She's at home. I mean, who wears lab coat at home? I haven't seen anyone. I mean, even if you are a male or female, you don't wear lab coat at home. So where are you? You're primarily positioned at home, and then you are connecting with the audiences. So as science communication develops as a field of both practice and research, it needs to address issues of equity, diversity, and inclusion across a wide range. And I'm not saying that only gender should be included. I say that people of different race, power, class should be also included. It is high time that we need to include these marginalized section, and we should get their narratives in the mainstream. There should be equal opportunities for all, including women. So where are women? Of course, I see that there are policy level changes being taken by the government and other bodies, wherein women are promoted in science, in STEM. But I have a problem with that also. I mean, you have to take different, you have to introduce different policies where women should be included in mainstream. It's like आप बस में ट्रैवल कर रहे हो और आपको 4 सीट्स जो है वो औरतों को दी गई है, and then the men community will look at कि अच्छा these women are privileged because they get an entry, they have a special seat reserved for them, they have special grants which are only for women. This is also problematic. We can't do that. I don't say that when I'm saying women should be included, there should be separate policies. I say that policies which are meant for all, grants which are meant for all, over there, women should be given equal opportunity, rather than designing different policies for exclusively for women. Because then by doing that, we are also demarcating. We are promoting this difference that okay, there's this men's scientific community and there's this women's scientific community. So while traditional media, if we see that they are significantly responsible for representational discrepancy, I argue that online media, on the other hand, has come as a savior when it comes to science communication. As compared to traditional media representations, online media, digital media is slightly more democratized. The decentralization is better in online media because everybody has equal space, equal opportunity to be part of the narrative, to share their views. And therefore, we can expect some balanced and gender parity communication happening, not only in science communication, but across. So online media can be a good platform where women in science communication can be promoted. Why am I emphasizing a lot on need for feminist approaches in science communication? Why do you think that women needs to be in science, or people from different race, people from different power class, a person with disabilities need to be in science communication? Why there is a need for feminist approach in science communication? I think I'll answer to that question. I think that traditionally feminization has been described as a demographic phenomenon. It highlights the tendency of a field being more populated by women than by men. And for science communication, it means that nowadays there are more women being active and visible in this field. That is how feminization process is looked at. However, I argue that this demographic tendency is a symptom of a broader cultural phenomena. We have to think of feminization as a process in which values and practices associated with what we consider as feminine are more central to the description of a field, especially by its outsiders and also by the insiders. So in this context, the increasing presence of more women in a field like science communication is a consequence of this process of something becoming more feminine. So science communication, of course, was not feminized. It is only in the past 70 years globally, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in the past decade or maybe 2 decades, we see that gender is argued in science communication. So when popularization of science became an institutional and development goal, more particularly in the global north, back in the 1950s, it was science men who assumed their responsibility of taking science to the public. So then there needs to be unlearning and learning of that phenomena to bring more vivid perspectives in science communication. Feminist authors have, largely argued that science is androcentric field. And I think as all of you are members of scientific community, and some of you are science communicators, we really need to look at this statement more critically. That is really science androcentric? How do we reinforce this idea of gender equality in science communication? Why do we need to hear to these voices? Not only from global south, but also from global north, because these marginalized section voices are not heard from Global North also. While there are efforts by Global North to bring these marginalized voices in the mainstream, I argue that there are very fewer efforts by Global South to bring these marginalized narratives in the mainstream. We need to do something to come over this imbalance, to stop this discrimination, to stop the stereotyping. A very day-to-day example, if I have to say, talk about women drivers. I mean, very commonly we say that women are pathetic drivers, they don't know how to drive, and it's a very common discourse, not only coming from men but also from women. But have you ever thought that a car was designed by a man, keeping the man's body? So the steering, the sitting position, interior, exterior, everything is designed by a man for a man. And a woman is struggling to fit herself in that design. So can we really say that it is a problem of the skill? Or should we say that it is a problem of the design? So if we have more automobiles designed keeping women, and the way they look at the surrounding and the driving, maybe women will be better at driving skill. Therefore, there is a need for more gender inclusive science communication, so that such issues, day-to-day issues, can be brought out and solutions can be sought. I say that the public media must widen the idea of who are meant to be scientists. It gives them a body and a place within science that is legitimate to science. We need to include people who are not so privileged, to understand the world of these people who are not so privileged. I understand that we have only about half an hour, so I would like to keep 5 minutes for question and answers. So I would like to conclude by saying that when we think of science communication as feminized, we can think of how this field is subordinated to particular hegemonic ideas of what science is and what it is not. Feminization of science can also bring care into science communication practices. It will debunk the very politics of doing science. And when I say we bring care, I mean the speculative commitment to neglected things that we foresee. We can bring care into the way science is produced and circulated. We can bring a commitment to marginal voices, to subjectivities that embody science and contest it, to the ways of doing research that are open to public, to listening, to collaborating on responsibility. With this note, I would like to conclude and thank you organizers for giving me this opportunity to